Why would the Baltimore Orioles give up on Grayson Rodriguez so soon with 4 more years of control, especially with their immediate need for starting pitching? Why are the Angels taking a chance on Rodriguez by giving up a power bat like Ward? I like that question. I sort of like platitudes like, hello, David, how you doing? Love to the family. Hope your daughter's feeling better. I don't mind any of those. I like them. But it doesn't mean I'm not going to answer a question if it's a good one. We got a question. We had a trade yesterday, an old-fashioned baseball trade that has people saying, does anyone know what they're doing? The trade is that you've got a player who is a free agent to be, and we're talking about Ward. He's a power hitter. He's good. He doesn't hit for average, but he hits for power. He drives in. He does his thing. He's been traded from the Angels to the Orioles. Grayson Rodriguez is a young, cheap pitcher who has 4 years left of control. Ward has 1 year of control. Grayson Rodriguez is a number 3 starter when he's healthy. Taylor Ward is a middle of the lineup hitter when he's healthy. $11 million that will be paid by the Orioles and their new owner, David Rubenstein. The Angels have their outfield of Adele and Trout and Soler. In a baseball trade, you are looking at 3 things. And I said a baseball trade on purpose. I did several baseball trades in my career, but more, I did money trades. Money trades are when you have a player making an amount of money and they become the player who's wanted by other teams, and you need to get that money saved because you are managing to a payroll. You have to cut expenses. It's the way we all do in our personal life. When we have to make a decision because we need to cut expenses because we're losing money or we're going bankrupt or we don't have enough revenue, we make decisions. How do we allocate what we are able to spend and what do we have to give up in order to make it work? Every GM manages to a payroll if the team is being run correctly from ownership on down. The Orioles and Mike Elias and the Angels and Perry Manassian, they know exactly, no matter what they say publicly, they know exactly what their payroll needs to be. The Angels get to save $10 million. He's going to make 11, but they're saving 10 because they have to replace him on the roster and pay someone $1 million. So you're saving $10 million. Money. That's number 1. 2, years of control. What are we getting here? When we trade a major leaguer who's about to be a free agent, we get 4 young players back who have not been in the big leagues. We like to tell ourselves we're getting 24 years of control, 6 times 4, because you're not a free agent until you've been in the league for 6 years. So let's pretend that all 4 players that we acquire make it all the way to free agency. Never happens ever. Not one trade does every player make it through free agency on the team that they're traded to, but ignore that for a minute. The level of delusion we have when we're making trades and evaluating trades, it's pretty significant. But years of control. We are trading away a guy with 1 year of control, and we're getting back 24 years. That's the second. Third, current day wins, CDW. It's a column that I would put when we were doing trades. What does it do for our team? The majority of trades that are money trades, the CDW, current day winning, is always a negative. When you are shedding payroll, it is extraordinarily difficult, if not impossible, to have your CDWs not be negative. In a baseball trade where the money is not the factor, you're not doing it because you're forced to, where the years of control are part of it, but not dispositive. In a baseball trade, the column we focus on is the CDW column. Who's better right now? The Orioles having Ward in their lineup, or the Angels having Rodriguez in their rotation? A baseball trade happens when both sides of the trade can have a positive CDW column. Sometimes they're both right. Sometimes they're both wrong. Sometimes it's split and one is right and one is wrong. That's how you can evaluate a trade after the fact. If Grayson Rodriguez does not pitch one game for the Angels this coming season and then becomes spectacular next season, the CDW this year will be nothing, if not negative, but next year it may be extraordinarily positive when the Angels will have Rodriguez and the Orioles will not have Ward because he's going to be a free agent. It's why we don't evaluate the trades the day they're made. It's why we don't evaluate the trades 1 year after they're made. We are evaluating trades multiple years after they're completed as we calculate the CDW columns, as we look at what we accomplished with the years of control. If you get 24 years of control in a trade and you end up with 4 people who never make the big leagues, you got 0 years of control. You can delude yourself all you want, and believe me, we do in our game. We do. We delude ourselves into saying, hell yeah, we got the better of that trade. We would do that trade again. My God, the trade we did for Cabrera is in every list of the worst trades in the history of sports. And I continue to tell you, given what I knew that day about the money, I didn't care about the CDW column. I cared about getting prospects that I thought would go to free agency with me, Cameron Maybin, Andrew Miller, etc. Reevaluated that trade. Of course it's a bad trade after the fact. Who do I think is going to win this trade of Rodriguez and Ward? That's why you're asking why you'd give up on him. Well, it's the same reason where any trade is made that's a baseball trade is you think that you're getting a player who's going to help you more now, and you're not as concerned at all about going forward. The Marlins made a baseball trade like that with the Orioles. You may remember when the Marlins got Connor Norby and Kyle Stowers, and they gave up the pitcher Rogers. Do you remember when Rogers had a bad year for the Orioles and then came back and last year was one of the best pitchers in baseball? Remember that Connor Norby, the main part of that trade, really ended up, he's fine, but nothing spectacular. But the throw-in Kyle Stowers was an all-star and in theory could have gotten MVP votes this year. In that baseball trade, after a year, the Orioles thought they got crushed. After 2 years, it becomes a far more equal, interesting trade. After next year, it will be evaluated again. You give up on players every day. Every organization does. Just yesterday, you all read, maybe, about teams that had to add players to their roster. There were a ton of transactions in the paper today. That is an old statement, what I just made, Coca. There's a ton of transactions that are on the wire on your cell phone with this player was added to the roster, this player was designated for assignment, taken off the roster, because yesterday was one of those off-season deadline days where you had to protect players or not from losing them as young players. But the point is, there are roster decisions that are made all the time, and we're always projecting what we think is going to be in the columns of a trade because we do the same thing. We're releasing a player. We make columns of the pros and the cons of releasing the player. Do I think that Grayson Rodriguez is hurt and now going to be hurt because this is the player he is? I don't know. He's a young player. He's got 4 years of control left. His past tells you that he's an oft-injured player. Does that mean he's going to be one of those guys who just disappears every year because their career gets derailed by injuries? Maybe. Any baseball trade is going to be complicated to evaluate. Think about what the Angels are doing by shedding that $10 million. They are putting themselves in a position to potentially be one of the major players in free agency for some of the overpaid top of the market people, because eventually Anthony Rendon is going to be gone. Eventually Soler is going to be gone. Like after next year, both of them are done. That's $51 million off the books. Before I go to the next question, Coca, I wanted to just talk about, for 1 minute, Anthony Rendon, because I'm tired of being wrong about him. I've been giving a wait to see, and Coca can check it on the document at davidsamsonpodcast.com, that Anthony Rendon was going to be designated every single year. I have said that because he has been what will go down after the fact as the single worst free agent signing. But at the time, the Angels were applauded. He was the best position player available after winning a world championship with the Nationals in 2019. When the Angels signed Rendon, it was, wow, adding Rendon to Pujols, to Ohtani. It was just a woohoo type of thing. Turns out the guy never plays because A, he doesn't like baseball, but more importantly, B, he's just hurt all the time. So I'm doing it now, Coca. Wait to see is when I tell you something's going to happen. And we have it on davidsamsonpodcast.com. That's where our wait to sees are, our picks of the day. So you can see the Heat 6.5 over the Cavaliers tonight. It'll be right there. Here is the wait to see. Anthony Rendon will be designated for assignment by the Los Angeles Angels this season.